it also then it changed a lot of stuff. My favorite was the British tank of hate was the Churchill Crocodile. I think I've talked about that one before, where it just had all the napalm and a buggy behind
Oh
it,
yeah, yeah,
and because it had a powerful compressor in it, like it could throw fire like really far, and it was used as a bunk. If you got guys in a house, you send in the Crocodile, and it would just hose the house down with napalm. And but if the napalm buggy got hit, it was behind the tank, so the tank didn't explode, kill everyone inside. Um, that was actually pretty. I think that was the most effective flamethrowing tank because the Sherman one we had was mainly used in Japan, in the island, and not and with purpose. the, the flamethrowers became preferred weapons over there, even though they were horrifying. The one we had, I don't think it carried it externally; it was all internal. But the Japanese didn't really have anything that could punch through a Sherman tank in the Japanese theater was like a king tiger.
yeah.
They were virtually unstoppable because the Japanese they had tanks, but they were strange. They didn't really get the con. They had like one man tanks where a guy drives it loaded. They had some regular tanks, but not very many.
um, yeah, there was another one that was kind of interesting. Um, where it was a tank designed one way, but then they built it a completely different way and basically ruined it.
Oh,
It was like kind of low profile and had like steep angles to it, so it would be good for like you know glancing off direct shots and stuff like that. But it was designed to be the tank was designed to be all welded
uh huh.
because I wanted to do.
The one they riveted.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a disaster.
It's, it's like, we're designed to be to all welded, and then like somebody convinced them like, how about we rivet it? It's easier. It's like, oh, okay.
There's
uh,
a reason why.
um, and then the other fatal flaw to it was that they built the engine in the back, and the engine was good, but they put the radiator up front,
Yeah,
and they didn't. That didn't like having the radiator that far from the engine meant like it didn't. It never did its job, and it like got hit constantly and didn't work.
yeah, yeah. Those are those things you never think of. Yeah, I think I've seen those videos before of that guy in particular because he's like old white haired dude with like round gold rimmed glasses.
Yeah,
He's very excited about this particular subject, but you can just tell it's like this guy doesn't have a lot of social skills outside of this.
yeah. But it's not just that dude. There's like five other dudes, and
Yeah,
like one guy who's like 30, and but everyone else is like 7 years old.
yeah, they have some great museums over there. One of our guys from the club is going to go over to the giant tank museum they have.
Well, yeah, like the museum's so full, they just have like a warehouse full of tanks, and when they were going to look at all the shitty ones, they like parked them off because there's like no reason to like necessarily show them in the main museum because like who gives a shit? This thing sucks.
Yeah,
And so they had to like go find weird angles. Like, well, we can't move it from here because it's parked in on all sides from other tanks.
they had to climb over it and
Yeah,
get to the top, and yeah, yeah,
but apparently you can still they'll have. But there are sections where there's like a viewing stand where they'll just like stand there and point things out. And that's like the only way you can see it if you go to the museum.
they got a lot of tanks over there at some of those museums. Also, like I like the weird discovery kind of failure to launch shows where they have like five of them. And the one I liked was Tank Restorers on TLC. It's like, oh, how are these guys getting an income off of that besides this show? And it was all guys in Britain, and they had like three Shermans in various states of disassembly, and it's like, well, we're gonna slap this together, and they got like a full machine shop there, and because at this point you're just fabricating parts based on like there's no new old stock left or anything.
Yeah.
Like this one, all the springs broke on it, and they just had to make springs. Like this guy had like a there was a guy, I think they were out of Sheffield or someplace, but there was this guy that had like his own, like he could sand cast things and like and produce high carbon steel and stuff, but they were just like, well, this is the broken one. They brought the broken one in, so they kind of tack welded it together and made some molds out of sand. They're just pouring metal into this mold they made at home and busting it out. And they failed like 3 times because it was hard to get that spring shape. Because the first one, they didn't have enough structure to it, or they didn't have the sand mixed right. So it just came out as a solid piece of metal with like a spring texture on the outside. That's not going to work. And so these guys were, and they finally got the tank running, driving it around. This is one of the ones with the radial engine in it too, out of aircraft. They just shoved in the Sherman. Like, this produces a lot of power. Put this in there. Of course, they fired it up, and the camera was like shaking. The guys were just screaming at the top of their lungs. She sounds great. Like, there's no muffler on it.
Want to confuse the enemy when I'm looking up in the air looking for a plane. It's on the ground.
Big Pratt and Whitney radial engine just running in the back of this tank. Because we had like all kinds of weird stuff in World War II. Just because we were just like, yeah, do this, do that, put this. We had tanks that run on petrol, that ran or gasoline, ran on diesel. Some of them had radial engines in, ran on aviation fuel. And some of them had engines that could run on all three, and just like, yeah, just throw money at it. 12-cylinder Chrysler engines that were just really 2 6-cylinders put together. Yeah, a lot of weird configurations. I mean, when you make 35,000 of them, you're going to have some variation there.
I was talking about wrestling at some point, but
yeah, at the beginning.
Yeah, so that's some pretty good setup for a match that randomly happened. So there's a guy named the Bastard Pac. Well, he's just Pac, but they call him the Bastard as well. And he had an Iron Man match with Kenny Omega, and it was like a really good match where they beat the shit out of each other on television.
Now explain the Iron Man format.
You have 30 minutes, and whoever has the most pinfalls or submissions or countouts, all that stuff, anything the way a match can end adds a point to your total.
Oh, okay.
And then the match just keeps going, and then whoever has the most points at the end of the match wins. So that's an Iron Man match.
Okay.
Which some of the podcasts we're listening to point out that like an Iron Man match is always anticlimactic because you always know when it's going to end. It's like, well, it's almost over, so here comes the end. Whereas another match is like, well, they can technically end at any time, so there's always a surprise there. So
yeah, there's kind of a clock running on this one. So.
Yeah. But yeah, they ended up in a tie, and then they called for a sudden death, but yeah, it was like really well done. But yeah, they just beat the shit out of each other. This is like one move where it looks like they're on the outside apron, and there's a move called the what is it, the Blue Falcon Arrow.
Okay.
Which is kind of like you spin a guy around in the air and slam him down on his back, and it just looks cool.
Yeah.
And they're on the outside apron. It looks like he's just going to do that and hit the side of the apron, which is, it's the hardest part of the ring because there's no give there, because that's where the iron bar that holds the rink is.
Okay.
So, but then like you think, oh, he's going to hit that, and they just keep going. It's like, oh, he just threw him all the way down to the fucking ground.
That has to hurt.
And then a bunch of crazy. There's one where he did a brain buster, which is basically it's like a suplex, but you kind of angle it so it looks like you're dropping your opponent like directly on their head.
Yeah, something that would kill someone in real life.
Yeah. Just at the last moment, tuck your head in, you're good, and destroy your shoulders and top vertebrae.
Yeah, just let your shoulders and your vertebrae take the blast.
You'll be alive and you'll walk, but
yeah, get paid. Live to fight another day.
So like, there's a part where you can clearly see, because they have like padding on the outside of the ring, but not all the way. So he did this move like right on the line where the padding exists and where it doesn't exist, and where they had the camera angle. You're like, oh, he fucking killed it. No, I don't. I think he like caught him on like the edge of the mat, but like I still don't know.
It was close enough to be scary.
Yeah, and then he did that same move off the top rope to Kenny Omega. It's like, oh, let's just add like 3 more feet to this move that's really incredibly dangerous.
Yes, now we're gonna have more gravity.
um, and then the end of the match was just Pac was trying to do it's a move called submission move called the Brutalizer, where you like, it's almost like you're putting someone up on the cross, but like you're pulling their arms back with your arms and your legs, and you're on their back.
Oh Jesus! It's not meant to go that way.
And then you're also like choking their air out. So, so he like did that for like the last 5 minutes of the match, and Kenny kept like dragging himself over to the ropes to, because if there's a submission move, if you grab the ropes, they're supposed to let go of you.
Oh, okay, that's an interesting twist.
Well, you're supposed to actually like anytime the opponent is in the ropes, like you're supposed to like not touch the opponent. Like the ropes are supposed to be a safe area, because there's like stuff where like you see them, you see where like they throw somebody into a corner and they'll run over and just like start punching him in the corner. If you look at the refs, they're like counting. They're going like 1, 2. It's like presumably if like if the ref gets to 5 and you're still hitting your opponent in the corner, you're supposed to be disqualified.
Okay, that's when you go DDT the ref.
Actually, that's what happened at the end of this match. The bastard Pac loses, and so he goes and beats the shit out of the ref.
Yeah, that's how all professional sports should end.
And then he goes to the top of the ramp and does an interview, and then Orange Cassidy comes out and decides he's going to challenge the bastard Pac. Now, do you remember Orange Cassidy, the wrestler who doesn't want to be a wrestler?
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, this is just like a mismatch completely. Because here's the guy who's like, also like Pac is like he looks like Legolas if he was just like super jacked.
Oh, okay, that's weird, but yeah.
Because yeah, he looks like an elf. He's a shorter guy, but he's just fucking just all muscle. But he's an acrobat, so he can do tons of like flying spins and shit. But he's also just super muscly. So he's a fucking beast of a guy.
Yeah.
And so him fighting Orange Cassidy is just ridiculous. So later on, and then Pac just punched him in the face. But like later on, so Orange Cassidy is kind of like a valet to a tag team called the Best Friends.
Okay.
So he comes out with them, and then like when he comes out, he's kind of like holding his jaw, like like it hurt because the Pac punched him, and then they do the tag team match, and the Best Friends win, and then they start cutting a promo afterwards, and that's when they announce that there's going to be a Pac versus Orange Cassidy match, and like the crowd goes crazy. And then Chuck Taylor, who's part of the Best Friends, like Orange Cassidy isn't talking for himself, so the Best Friends are talking for him. Like he's so lazy, he doesn't even want to talk. He's just mute.
Just disinterested.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, Pac, I know you think Orange Cassidy's just a joke. Well, the joke's on you because this time he's gonna try. And the whole crowd laughs. And the crowd starts chanting, "He's gonna try! He's gonna try!"
It's amazing.
And at first, I misheard what they said. So there's a chant that happens at wrestling venues when somebody's doing something that's absolutely crazy, and if there's a pause in a moment before it's gonna happen, the crowd will chant, "Please don't die." So I thought they were chanting, "Please don't try." Like, if you try, that goes against your character. Please don't try. But no, they can't. They're chanting, "He's gonna try." And then the other guy, Trent, was like, "Now he didn't actually say he's gonna try. We don't know what he's gonna do." And then like then the announcer holds up the microphone to Orange Cassidy to get his response, and he just does his little half thumbs up thing, and then everyone cheers.
That is so amazing that that's a character. The disingenuous wrestler.
So someone actually, I forget who it was, but they had like a brilliant commentary about like Orange Cassidy is actually like the wrestler of this era.
Okay.
They were talking about Hulk Hogan was like the wrestler of the 80s. He was like corporate. He's like corporate guy, and it's all about greed and like, you know, big and flashy. And then, you know, when we decided that was a bad thing, that's when Stone Cold Steve Austin came out, and he's like, no, it's about fighting the man, and like and like your boss sucks, and like you need to do anything to get an advantage. And then now, like Orange Cassidy is just, it's like none of that matters. He's just completely disinterested. Like it's apathetic.
Yeah, yeah. The everything's a joke, even trying. It's all. This is the end of Empire. That should be the title of the wrestling match: Orange Cassidy and the End of Empire.
So yeah, just before we started this show, I just saw the first like 2 minutes of the match, and it was fucking hilarious, and they weren't really doing anything. Because there's like where he does the little light kicks, like where he barely touches his opponent, and then the crowd like, oh, like it's like he just like kicked the guy's head off. And then Pac was like retorting with like the same little kicks, and like and the crowd was selling it. Like it's an amazing to watch a match where it's like really the amazing thing about the match is the crowd reacting to it.
Yeah, everyone being in on the joke. Like,
Yeah.
At, like, oh, we're getting screwed. They're mocking us. It's like, no, this is amazing. This apathy wrestling. This is perfect. No one gets hurt doing this.
And also, like, it's something you can show to anybody, because like the default mode is like wrestling is fake and stupid, and show it to them. They're like, I am correct, but this is entertaining.
Yeah, this confirms all my suspicions. I'm loving it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we watched some stuff on YouTube with this guy. My favorite was the shirt, when he was gonna make the shirt, and it just had some download error thing on it.
Yeah. Yeah, the profile to our store page is like 500 characters goes here. Like he didn't even change the default thing on this.
I forgot about that. That's really interesting. Sad commentary on the world. What a necessary one. Because with like in my era, and with people in my age group, it was like, well, you still go to work, but you're apathetic about it. But you put something on and go to work. Now the new thing is like, yeah, it's like they said, it's like it's just all a joke. It's just all some game, and you still get paid. You try, you just have to get paid.
Because even like caring and having self-worth and work ethic is you're gonna get fucked either way, so it's easier to not care about those things.
I don't put a lot of effort into it because it's all gonna end the same way. Orange Cassidy, a wrestler for the new generation. I like the bogus wrestling moves, and the crowd's like just like they're floored.
My favorite is the one match where he sat in a chair, and the 3,000 people stood up and gave him a standing ovation. And all he did was fucking sit down.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Coliseum went nuts. Like they just fed a Christian to the lions. People are all in.
I saw NXT Takeover Portland, which that was a really great that was a really great show. But the takeovers are always great shows, so they usually don't fuck that up. You had I presume to be the last Keith Lee Dominic Dijakovic match for a while. That's the guys who are like, just a little bit under and just a little over 300 pounds doing backflips and, and
Yeah.
suicide dives. It wasn't their greatest match, but it was still them doing anything is entertaining, so it was still fine. I presumed one of them was hurt, or both of them, or they just. But
I would assume so. Yes.
I also want there's one part where Keith Lee Dominic had punched him, and like Keith Lee had like fell into a chair on the outside, like a rolling chair, and then Dominic goes to the top ropes. Well, he's like in the announcing area, which is like like 10 feet away from the ring, or more like 5 feet away from the ring. He gets on the top rope and does like a backflip off the top rope into him in the chair.
Jesus. 300-pound guy doing that. Yeah.
Well, no, the Dominic is like 270 pounds
Still.
and 6 foot, like 6'7".
Yeah.
It's like a basketball player doing a backflip into a chair.
Onto a guy.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, the guy's there for padding.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think the guy doing the backflip's the one that's going to get hurt.
Yeah, I think that's really like why they have to do matches with each other, is that it's the only safe way for them to have a match. Because like Keith Lee can't really do his cool stuff to somebody who's like under 200 pounds, because he will actually destroy them.
Yeah, get some Japanese guy out there. It's like a ballet guy that can do 120 pounds. This monster would crush him.
Well, that's what they say. Do you know who the Big Show is?
No.
He was a wrestler. He started WCW and he was just the Giant, because he's like I think legitimately 7 feet tall.
Oh God, yeah.
So he's like 7 feet tall, like 350 pounds. And then in his younger days, he was in really good shape. And he could move athletically, and like there was rumors that he could do a moonsault, which is basically it's if you what's the difference between a moonsault and okay, so it's like a backflip. You're doing a backflip, but you're looking at your opponent. So you have to do a backflip, but your body has to move forward to get to your opponent. So it's kind of counterintuitive.
That sounds kind of weird. I'm trying to imagine.
And so apparently he could do that, but like he never did it in a show, because they said it would never be safe for his opponent to take that move, because if he misses at all, he's breaking the guy in half.
Yeah.
Because those moves that they do like that, a lot of time to do it safely, like the guy doing the move gets more hurt, because he does make body to body contact, but really all the force is going into that guy's hands and knees.
Yeah.
Because they brace that way, so they're not just like falling flat on the fucking guy.
Right.
So yeah, you never saw a 7 foot tall, 350-pound guy do a moonsault, because it was deemed never safe to actually have somebody do it. To
2 people could end up in wheelchairs as a result of it.
But if you want to jump off the top of a ladder and do a backflip, that's cool.
That works.
As long as the guys are both like under 200 pounds.
Yeah.
Because force equals mass times acceleration.
Yeah, guy has the fucking hits you with like he weighs as much as like a boulder, decorative boulder people put in their front yard. 900 pounds by the time he gets to the bottom of that ladder. slapping hams. That's when stuff starts to break.
They should like put G-force meters on wrestlers and like have that be like, and like poured out the statistics to like a screen somewhere.
You should have like a headgear with like a helmet, like a small helmet cam.
Yeah.
Just to see like what this guy's seeing when he slams into the ground. an accelerometer in them and all that stuff. And, yeah, I'm sure he could do it.
Yeah.
See the guy coming at him, see his like legs in the air. That'd be interesting.
Also, I don't know. I'm even looking at the show notes. I don't know, like what a reserve thing. Saw the first episode of Altered Carbon season 2.
Okay, I've seen the whole series.
I don't know what to say about it, but it seemed cool from what I was watching. Also, somewhat ridiculous, but
Yeah,
the end of it, it's like he has to stab himself to remember something. And I was like, that's kind of stupid, but okay, whatever. He just got put in a new sleeve, so whatever.
yeah.
The body remembers, like, oh yeah, I can stab myself. I did like the twist. There was like that opening scene in the bar where he's like, Takeshi, I got your money, and like all these different people are like trying to vie for the money. Meanwhile, there's a singer singing like a what was that David Bowie tune or something,
I think so, something like that.
and then she ends up being Takeshi Kovacs. So it's like, that's a fun twist.
Yeah, like Japanese lounge singer. Lady.
And I like the hired gun there because she played Misty Knight and the Defenders and um, fuck Cage,
Okay.
Luke Cage TV show. And I really liked her in it. She was that second season was kind of a bummer, but she was a bright spot in it. So it's good to see her getting some more work. She's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if is she in more of the episodes or is that her only appearance?
No, she's all the way to the end.
Oh, really? Okay. Because
Her character grows a lot. Find out a lot more about her.
well, how did she get on Harlan's World? Then she just have the same kind of sleeve.
There seemed to be a lot of like I don't know. A lot of people just seem to have like clones of their sleeves, or it wasn't explained.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of that too, where it's like, yeah, it's kind of a thing. Because she worked for
Is it Ashley or something?
who did she work for? Because she worked for a character that was actually. Hold on, let me get the. She worked for one of the meths that was on Harlan's World.
Okay, can you explain what the meth is? I completely forgot.
Those are the really old people that have re-sleeved like hundreds of times, or like 300 some years old.
Oh, okay.
It's a take on the word Methuselah.
Oh, okay.
Because in our world, when you call people meth, it's like, okay. Oh, I forget who he. Oh yeah, he was Horace Axley. She worked for Horace Axley, which was a top level rich guy. So I assume he just like, yeah, we'll needle cast you over here and give you the same body because he was paying top dollar to get Kovacs as his bodyguard, but he ends up getting killed. For the Kovacs has no interaction with him.
Well, except to walk up to his dying. Oh, and the simulation interaction, but that was it.
Yeah, that was about it. Yeah. So it was. Yeah, it's all confused, but yeah, the.
And the only like carryover is the AI hotel guy, right? There's nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's the best guy.
Well, I didn't know if they brought anything over from the first. Well, I guess just the Quellcast Falconer is just kind of in the background, and then the stuff with this
the main character in this,
and the stuff with this. The sister's gone, right? Like she's dead or in
she's really
jail. Okay.
Yeah.
And the sister wasn't in the books, right?
No.
Okay.
Construct of the. I think in the book, the sister actually died, and that was one of the many things that haunted him. Was he had never, like, the first person I said I could protect, I failed, and everyone else around me has died since. And wonderful person. And that was.
And what's up with Harlan's World? What's that like weird? That's like an alien, like dome that's just electricity.
Yeah, and I'm not current on my Broken Angels. I haven't read that book in a while, but yeah, essentially Harlan's World was like it's the one with the most alien artifacts, And yeah, if you fly a craft above a certain side or a certain speed, you'll get hit by what they call angel fire, which is just a network of satellites that orbit the planet.
Yeah.
And alien technology, no one understands it, but that the alien race was dead. In the books, they were dead. Like they didn't leave anything but some technology behind them. Now, of course, this TV show makes it into something completely weird, stupid. But yeah, that's what that weird grid is.
Did they ever explain how they actually got on the world, if that exists?
No, well, I forget. Well, because Harlan's world was settled by sleeper ships, because that was before they had the tech,
Needlecast.
the, yeah, to encode personalities in the fake spinal disc. So that like the people that came to Harlan's world came on a colony ship, and I'm just assuming through trial and error. Out like, well, you can't fly, or maybe they flew to a different. I don't know. Those books are kind of they sort of like set up a world, and then it's action and fucking.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the world of Altered Carbon, where they have a framework and
Here's a cool idea. Are we gonna explore that? No time.
it's got to screw and then kill people in horrible ways, or do some do it at the same time. But yeah, those yeah, that's the Harlan's world is famous because that's where Kovac was born.
Yeah.
So that always plays a big part in his story, because he knows, because he's like it's hard to keep track of, but like he was born to his father was Hungarian and his mom was Japanese or something, and so that's like the culture he grew up in, was that world, which is controlled by the Harlans, which are just evil rich people, and then the Yakuza, which are just evil Japanese criminals. And so that was like the world he grew up in before he joined the Envoys, which I'm talking book now. I'm not whatever this TV show is, where the Envoys are the Kellist. It's like, no, they're not. But okay, fine. You've read parts of the book, I take it. So, whatever you're doing, and it's fine. It's entertaining. There's nothing wrong with it. Just I really like Richard K. Morgan, and I was really hopeful. It's like, oh, they're going to take these stories. Like, there's nothing light about this stuff. and they don't handle the violence and the death and everything and the sex and all that with kid gloves in this, but they kind of like they mashed up the story in a weird, unnecessary way. Takashi Kovacs is supposed to be like this kind of reluctant warrior or monk who sort of sees the futility in everything. And that was always a cool character arc for him, and they still sort of portray that, but yeah, I don't know. This season was not as good as the first season, and the first season wasn't very good until about the 4th episode. So. And the first season got 10 episodes. This only got 8.
Oh, okay.
And even the people that reviewed it are like, I don't know where they're going after this.
Canceled.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, they committed. They spent like 2 years in between productions, so.
Yeah.
And it looks good, but also it's also a lot of shit where it's like, hey, we built a wall with a texture and we shine a color light on it and move it back and forth like in every scene.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, we get it. It's future. It's
yeah.
just random lights casting weird colors on everything.
Yeah. In the future, there'll be like disco lights shining everywhere, and it's technology. And the future, Blade Runner did that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Light shining around. It's like, this is the future. It's like, well, it's well illuminated and poorly illuminated at the same time. You're creating a lot of shadows. Some areas are bright.
It's a iridescent ball covered in grease.
Yeah. It's like this is some weird. Guys never got into the LED bulbs in the future. Huh? A lot of white light.
Did you see the trailer for Tales from the Loop?
Yes, I did. I don't know how that's gonna be, but
I imagine it's gonna be an anthology series, but
yeah.
Because I mean, they did that for Electric Dreams, the anthology series. So I kind of feel like it's gonna be something like that. Like this is their addendum to that or something.
Yeah. I mean, I hope it'll be good. I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, it looks interesting. I just have no idea what the stories are going to be. But
Yeah, there's a few scenes I saw where they did get like the haunting look of that world, right? Because that's all that was a visual world with a very thin skeleton
I
crew.
like the part where like the house is just being like torn apart and lifting upwards,
Yeah,
like that, but slowly. Like, is
yeah,
there any intention to this, or is this just happening and it's just horrific? But it's like a slow car wreck.
yeah. They had the big robot, the girl controlling it,
Yeah,
um, which that was in the books, but it was a boy. Um, and then they had the robot hiding in the woods, like peeking out behind a tree. This giant, 20-foot tall robot.
yeah, they're the mag cars or whatever.
Yeah, the guys that are refueling those. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it comes out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it won't be long. Produced by the Russo brothers.
Huh? Okay, cool.
I think so. I think. I mean, I know they bought the rights to the Electric State, and they wanted to do like a movie, and then they said, well, maybe a TV series, and then you heard, well, they got the rights to all this stuff, so this this is part of it. Because the Electric State's really dark. Like, it's actually got a story. It's a dark one, but it's got one. Um, so we'll see. We'll see where this goes. I'm hopeful. Amazon usually does a good job when they set their mind to it. And not everything's been a hit, but
You've been watching Hunters, haven't you?
yeah, I've watched like 4 episodes.
All right.
I don't know if I'm gonna revisit it.
I hear it's crazy. I haven't watched it yet.
It's crazy, all right, but it's almost getting I don't redundant almost. Like it's like okay, it's like each episode we're gonna jump the shark a little more, and then we're gonna stop and have a musical scene in the middle.
Okay, I wasn't expecting a musical in the middle of the Nazi hunting movie.
Kind of a dark, like, yeah, just kind of like everyone just kind of dancing and singing. It's only like 2 minutes, but it's sort of weird because we're talking about the Holocaust and Nazis, and the Nazis in this are like really bad. They're like insanely evil, like satanically super evil people, and it's set in the 70s, which is kind of weird. It's fun, but it's sort of different. So yeah, like I said, I might finish that off. I don't know. It didn't enthrall me enough where I wanted to keep going back.
Yeah.
Where I'm like,
It's just surprising that Al Pacino's doing a TV show. So, but
yeah, he does a good job in it. He does Al Pacino as a Jewish guy who survived the Holocaust and wants to get rid of the Nazis. And the younger kid that joins their group because of things that happen in the story is not. He doesn't like horrifying murder to have. He reacts to murder like people would. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Did you just stab that guy in the throat? Wait a minute. Whoa. Can't we turn these guys over to the cops? And, nope, that doesn't work because they always get out of it somehow. And then when you meet the Nazis and realize who they are, it's like, yeah, kill them. These people are weird and fucked up. So, but yeah, I'm caught in neither here nor there on it. It's not like I think that they like saw what they did with the Watchmen, and they're like, let's kind of take cues from that, and they sort of they fumbled it. Well, I mean, I don't imagine they did because I'm sure this was in production about the same time.
yeah, probably.
But it seems like that's kind of the motif they're going for, and they sort of dropped the ball on it, where Watchmen always kept you coming back. It was consistently good, where you could sort of overlook some of the obvious like PC shit they were doing in Watchmen. It's like, well, this is so enthralling that I'm just gonna keep doing it. I know what game you're playing, guys, but you put together a good show.
Oh, I saw the Corridor crew, which is this guy's visual effects artists react to visual effects stuff,
Okay.
and had no idea that what's his name, the Mirror Mask guy.
Oh,
Oh, Looking Glass.
Looking Glass, yeah.
So that's all CGI. That mask.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought they just had some weird shiny thing and they enhanced it a little
Yeah, that's what I thought.
bit. Yeah.
But no, it's like it's tracked. Like every shot has like 4 different shots, like an empty plate, the actor, and then like even sometimes the actor's replaced with CGI and like all that stuff. And then they have like sometimes they have like cameras on the mask itself, so it can shoot outwards, so that they can feed that as a reflection in the CG work afterwards.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay. No idea that was going on.
No, I didn't know that was an effect at all. That's that entire character is a CGI effect. Because they couldn't find a material that would actually be that stretchy and that reflective.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Now that you say it, it makes perfect sense because it's like, yeah, where does that material exist? Because I'm getting a tracksuit made out of it. You would literally be like invisible. Just reflect everything back around you.
But yeah, I thought that was amazing. So
Yeah, I'm
Yo,
gonna watch that episode now.
good CGI. CGI, you don't even know it's there.
Well, like I said, I figured like in some of the like head-on scenes where he's sitting there interrogating people in the room.
Yeah, I figured they'd be like editing out the camera or some shit like
Yeah,
that.
like it's enhanced somehow. It seems a little smooth. Because that would, if you really put something like that over someone, it'd be like putting a, what was the closest thing with like those emergency ponchos, like those silver blankets.
Yeah.
It'd be something like that, but taut. And now that you tell me that, it's like, yeah, we don't have anything like that.
Well, I mean, you could take something stretchy and kind of like paint it silver, but like it wouldn't be as reflective as it appears in the show.
It's perfectly reflective in the show. Like, always you looking back at yourself whenever you're dealing with that guy, who was like a weird redneck character. So jarring. But yeah. Oh, so bug out bags.
No, we're doing that. I didn't prepare any bug out bags.
Don't worry about them. We'll do it next week.
Oh, okay.
So, well, because I actually have one. Like, I didn't realize it until I started looking into this. It's like, oh, I already have one of these. I mean, it's in the trunk of my car. It's what, because there's all these codes and stuff. This is what you call the get home bag.
Well, then, yeah. Well, sure. Explain your bug out bag.
Well, yeah, that's well. What was the concept for the show? We're gonna build bug out bags, or
Yeah, for different scenarios. I've been playing a lot of modern Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and you make loadouts of just weapons. So a lot of the idea is like, what's a cool weapon you can put in a bag or on a bag or just have on your person. So it's less a bug out bag and just like cool equipment you have on your person, but people call them bug out bags, and so maybe at some point we limit itself to like, oh, you wouldn't have a weapon with this, but like every time you build a bug out bag, like the cool part is like, what weapon do you have in your bug out bag?
yeah. Well, so for my real world bug out bag, which has been in the trunk of my car for years, I have a few things going on. I have a winter version, which is just a North Face coat in the trunk of my car. I have a North Face coat that you couldn't freeze to death in unless you just wanted to. That always rides in my car. But I do have a backpack, and it's a civilian backpack. It's not a Molly pack. It's not. I think it's Adidas. But inside it, I have a few things. I brought some of it inside just because it's time to wash some of this stuff. But I have some gloves, and I don't know if you can see these gloves.
Those mechanics gloves.
Yeah, these are the mechanics gloves with the.
Oh, with this. Oh, I got the steel and the.
Oh, they're not steel. They're just impact.
Oh, just hard plastic.
Yeah, steel would break your hand. They're cut resistant. They're artificial leather. That's mainly for like if you had to get out and work on your car or something.
Yeah.
Anything that could happen. And then of course I have my my carry knife, which is a Gerber. What is this one called? I think it's a Griptilian. Not a Gerber. Sorry guys, it's a Benchmade.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this is always with me. This never leaves my side. It's a good knife. I'm not a knife fighter, but it's good to have a knife. I have 2 Leatherman in there. I have the black Leatherman tool that's also a takedown tool for an AR-15. And then I have the another Leatherman called the Crunch, which they don't make anymore, which is actually the locking plier Leatherman. Because I found that if you got to work on stuff, one Leatherman's not always going to do it. You got to turn something apart. That sits in the bag. I also have a longer knife that's a fixed blade knife. It's about this long. It's a $500 knife that I bought years ago. It's made out of D4 tool steel, which means you can sharpen it a lot if it gets dull, and it's got a high carbon steel.
Is it a machete or what's its intended purpose?
Basically, not quite a Bowie knife.
Okay.
I've had it out on the show. Got a big rubber grip with brass around it. You could chop a tree down with it if you had to. It has a lot. It's a big thick blade. It's got a lot of uses. Technically, Michigan's kind of weird about knives. It's probably too big to have on your person. But if you got to get out of your car and walk somewhere, you're going to need that. I have 150 feet of paracord in a bag. And I got the red string paracord, which is the good stuff.
Well, what's special about that?
It's 1,000-pound test weight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And I have a few paracord working tools in there, so you can like rig stuff up. I don't know why I have that in the trunk of my car, but if I had to get home and my car was broke down, I'm basically 40 miles from home, this is all stuff. Got a nice pair of good walking shoes in the trunk. A couple wicking socks. That's also in the bag. Those are socks you can wear that you don't have to wash them all. You know, your feet get itchy and dirty real easy.
Yeah.
After walking a long time with these socks, you just have to take them and dry them out. They're good to go again. I have the Stanley multi-wrecking bar tool, which is a crowbar that it kind of looks like it's about this long. It's got a crowbar end, it's got a hammer, and then like a nail extractor, and then in the middle is a notch where you could grab stuff and break it like a board or whatever. It's essentially a demolition tool.
Okay, yeah.
So very good for a lot. Just
police use those, or like SWAT teams use those, right? Okay.
Yes. And I bought mine at Lowe's, so they use them at Lowe's too. But it is a great. It's heavy, but it's a good tool. I'm gonna call it a tool. I don't have water purification equipment. I'm not prepared for I'm not doing a full NBC preparation to get back to my house. If I have to, get home. Trying to think of what else I have. I have first aid kit, a couple flashlights, nothing expensive. What I don't have is any offensive weapons. I don't keep guns in the car. I don't keep guns in a go bag in the car, because that's something like I'm of two minds on things like that, because guns kind of represent immediate danger, and people will see you as a danger if you have a gun. But if you're just some dude, I mean, if they want to rob you, then they're going to rob you. If it's a group of people, but yeah, I don't have a firearm in it. Not in that one.
Well, you ever a Wrangler Star? He was talking about like an emergency kit bag in his car, and oh no, I think he was just had like his bug out bag, but it was specific to it's like you don't put all your nice stuff in it. It's like a bag that like if it got stolen, you wouldn't be out anything.
Yeah. I'd be out about 300. I mean, the most expensive thing is that giant knife.
Yeah.
But then again, it's locked in the trunk, and it's underneath stuff, so you'd have to take your time.
But like his bag, like the most expensive thing in it was like a wad of it was like $100 in the bag. Yeah. Like the money was the most expensive thing about the bag.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do have is a set of small road flares and a squeeze bulb and some tube long enough where I could get gas out of almost any vehicle that was left by the side of the road.
Oh, okay.
And that's not really because I would use the gas, because I'm assuming my car is disabled and I have to leave it. And I'm heading down 94 in a westerly direction. And by heading, I mean I'm not running. I'm a fast walker. I'm not a runner. Believe it or not, So
And then moseying down the highway.
as I mosey down the freeway, um, and I've also got a couple empty water bottles in the back of the car, and they're glass bottles, like you get the nice spring water in. And I also have there's 4 strips of just shop rags that I heated up paraffin, red hot. I mean, I'm the liquefied paraffin, and I immersed these in paraffin, and then I took some hot gloves and some aluminum foil and squeezed all the paraffin out of the rags, so there was still a bunch of them, and I cut them into strips. And the reason I have that, because I said I didn't have a knife, but what I've got is a man's original best friend, which is fire. I could quickly make some Molotov cocktails if I had to. If you want to get people off you in a hurry, light them on fire. That won't be long. So that's the only thing, the closest thing I have to like, and I know carrying glass bottles around with you isn't ideal, but these are pretty thick. So that's and those are, all that stuff's kept in Ziploc bags. Because the reason you use paraffin wax and shop towels is because it forms a plug, and it also burns slowly. Because a lot of people in movies, they just show them stuffing rags and bottles full of gasoline. That'll explode as soon as you light it. That's not going to help you. That's going to help the people trying to kill you. So, and I also have a pair of thick shear like scissors that you can cut through like carpet and wood stuff with.
Fingers.
Yeah.
Where's my family?
Yeah. I don't have drinking stuff, heating stuff. I have lots of different gloves for different environments. I got thick wool socks. That's all. But that's all in a bag in my trunk. So I didn't realize it's like, well, technically, I kind of have one of these things already.
Yeah.
And it would definitely qualify as a bug out bag because I've got all the essential tools minus gas that you need to Molotov cocktail your enemies to death.
I think I remember it was on Giant Bomb. Vinny was talking about his bug out bag, but it wasn't realized yet. It was theoretical, and it was something about like it was a bag full of stuff, but also a shotgun. But it was like submerged in water, and like only he knew where it was.
Right. That's a good for a quick get. I gotta get my bug out bag. What are we doing? Draining a lake. Wait a minute. This is the fall of civilization. Yeah, every bug out bag we talk about after this point will be hypothetical. Because I'll make shit that's like, oh, you know how that pack out system worked in what's that weird game that Hideo Kojima just came out or whatever?
Oh, Death Stranding.
Yeah, I'll have like Death Stranding like load up.
You have a whole exoskeleton to help you lift more shit.
So what I did was I invented for my bug out bag. I invented an exoskeleton with a power source we don't yet have that will propel me along at 35 miles an hour. I mean, shit. This all sounds theoretical right now, but some of the shit we got going on in the world, it's like, it might be time. Might be time.
Start up a Discovery Channel show like times when I used my bug out bag.
I'll be doing the podcast.
Real.
Welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. I know my voice sounds strange right now, but there's lots of breath.
My favorite band is Dr. Teeth and the Electric. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, I'll just be podcasting with a HEPA filter on.
I saw a guy the other day. He was open carrying with a golden desert eagle.
That's awesome.
And smelled of alcohol. It's like, oh, this is a perfect combination.
You, sir, are a champion. When the founding fathers wrote this into the Constitution, they had you in mind.
And I'm pretty sure Walmart doesn't allow guns or, has since frowned upon that thing. I was like, well, I guess the cop at the door didn't give a shit, so.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to deal with booze guy with a golden block? Like, you want to take a 50A to the face because this guy's having a bad day? Just let him go.
I almost just want to stop and laugh at those guys just to see their reactions. Like, what? I have a gun. Why are you laughing at me? It's like, because you have a gun.
Well, my wife, who usually shies away from controversy and trouble and public stands, as we know. Yeah, she got into one of those guys at the grocery store. Had I think it was like a Glock, like outside the waistband, like cop holster.
Yeah.
And he was like in line in front of her, and he was obviously like just a guy in t-shirt, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "What? Your gun, obviously. What are you doing here?" She goes, "As soon as you do that, because we talked about people, because this is a phenomenon here in Michigan. People do this a lot now, and it's like, yeah, you're just a target for every weirdo and cop or whatever in the store. It's like, oh, that guy's carrying a gun. All eyes on him." You don't want to be that guy. And then she was asking him that, like, everyone's going to see you. And he's like, I don't care. It's my right. She's like, no, everyone thinks something's going on now. Like, you're just walking around with a gun. And he's like, well, what do you know about guns? He goes, well, my husband carries a gun everywhere he goes. But no one knows it. It's like in his pocket or in his pants. Well, he can't get to it. And she's like, get to it for what? What's going to happen where he's just got to just spring... just like click his wrist and a gun appears. Like, well, what world are you living in? And he was just like trying to argue with her, basically having a Second Amendment argument with someone who is, my wife is pro Second Amendment, like not pro like weirdo Second Amendment.
Well, I always just want to laugh at them and be like, couldn't pass the concealed weapon class, huh?
Yeah, couldn't pass the evaluation. So.
Didn't want to spend $70 on a concealed weapons permit.
Yeah. 70, that's nice. Shit.
I think that's how much I need to renew mine, but I really don't. Because I don't conceal carry and I haven't bought a gun except for the one time.
Yeah.
Because that's like the reason to get a concealed carry permit, because you don't have to get a right to acquire if every time you buy a weapon. That just is like, you can buy as many as you want as long as you have a CCW.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. I've only acquired them one at a time. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the open carry guys are just, you're ruining it for the rest of us. Why would you conceal that? It's because if I hear gunfire, I'm probably going out the back door. To be honest with you, the only reason I have this gun is to cover my escape. I'm not here to like, I'll save you. Fuck that.
But yeah, I didn't want to like have like some weird argument with the guy like, oh, Walmart doesn't allow you to carry. It's like, well, it's my right. It's like, well, this is private property technically. It's like, do you want me to go on your property? Can I just go on your property with my gun and just wave at you?
I just show up in your house. Eating your food with a gun. Like, hey, no.
Second Amendment, am I right?
Yeah.
When are we gonna blow each other?
Yeah. This is what it all leads to. Really weird grind. It's a weird way to have gay hookups with arms. Man, that's really what we want to do.
But yeah, like they use the argument, be like, something like, well, if somebody has a gun, I'm going to be here to protect you. And it's like, there was a shooting at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas, where everyone has a gun, and guess what? Nobody helps.
The only way you're going to protect me, dude, is as a human shield.
But then other people go to that. Did you ever see videos of that church shooting? Where the guy just like...
Where three people start shooting back at the guy or something?
Yeah. Well, like everyone has a gun, but this guy like just point blank shoots two people with a shotgun. I believe one of them was killed, but the other one survived. Yeah. And then this dude, like, who's just like a security guy... like pops him in the head as he like starts on to like, well, now my warpath, and he just like pangs him in the head and immediately stops him. And then like, that becomes the other argument. It's like, see, Texas gun culture saved lives.
Ask the dead guy. Yeah. I mean, it does, but it's just an extra measure of insurance on your escape is all I see it as.
Yeah.
We're not taking on. If I see people robbing a bank, and even if I have my Kimber with me, which sometimes I do, it's just like, oh, go ahead, guys. Bank. I don't give a shit.
This is insured. The cops will be after you.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with me. I don't even have money in this bank, so go ahead.
And
Yeah, the people kind of weird me out that like suddenly they want to be involved now that they got a gun. I'm gonna make society safer. Just stop. Don't do this.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to just imagine scenarios where like the school would be taken over by terrorists, and it's like my own personal Die Hard scenario, and like you have those fantasies, but that's all they were. It's like these guys like now have the money and spare time to start to build their fantasy in real life. It's like I can't hire terrorists to make me a hero, so I have to just be ready when it happens.
Yeah. No, I've never been the heroic type. Guns are just an added security measure for me. That's all they are, and I don't really care as much about them. I used to be kind of like, well, we don't need to ban shit, but now I'm sort of like, well, everyone's fucking nuts. I'm screaming at people in the parking lots trying to get groceries. It's like, do we all really need to be armed all the time? Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, someone shot up the Coors Brewery this week or something?
Yeah.
And then they say a bunch of stuff, and then all of a sudden there's no details. Like, oh, we were wrong about that. Never mind. It's like, wait a minute, who did this?
Well, now they have the weird. Well, I guess it's not weird. It's like they're cagey with the details now, in order to. Well, not necessarily, but it's like they're kind of cagey with the details now because they don't want to inspire copycats.
Yeah.
So like they don't put the shooter's name out there. Like they used to just like they just turn them into like a quick icon, and then like immediately 3 days later someone else is like, I want to get on TV too.
Yeah.
I can one up him.
Well, the only reason I even know about it was, well, I mean, it was on the news, but then there were stories going around like he went into this office with a gun with a huge silencer on it, and he just started shooting people with a silenced handgun, like from behind. I was like, what? That sounds fucking bizarre. He was like an electrician, and everyone liked him, and he was good friends with a lot of people. But then he said that people at work were going into his house when he weren't there. It was the one weird thing he ever said. And like a week later, 5 people are dead. Like, huh? Wait a minute. And then they retracted all that. So I don't know what's going on. But you hear that stuff. It's like, wait a minute. This guy had a gun with a huge silencer and was going around like a fucking ninja. And then it's like, well, up until last week, he was normal. It's like, well, this sounds like the plot of a weird movie. And then they say, no, none of that was true. So, okay, whatever. Yeah, I know they handle it differently now, but the stuff that I was telling you, like, I didn't read that on InfoWars. That was like on regular news feeds, and then they took it down. Like, well, that's not exactly what happened. So anyway, bug out bags. Open carry with the golden Glock. Do it.
That's how you're gonna win, Dark Man.
Yeah.
Now it seems like I'm weird, like I'm antagonizing a African American. But I was listening to a podcast, and they were the Action Boys podcast, and they were talking about Dark Man, which I remember liking Dark Man, but I have not seen it in like 20 years.
The first Liam Neeson joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Sam Raimi movie.
How old was Liam Neeson in that? 20?
No, I think they said he was like 38.
Really? Okay. Yeah, he is older.
I mean, well, Liam Neeson, like, he's in Excalibur. He's always looked like he's 40 years old, even when he's like 20. But yeah, I don't know if there was a thing from the movie, but like they're kind of making a joke when they do like a Dark Man voice, where it's like, "Ha, I just talk like this." It's like, that's how you're gonna get him, Dark Man. It's like Like I guess he talked to himself in the movie, but I don't know if he called himself Darkman or not. So it's
Yeah, I haven't seen that one in a while. I remember it was a weird movie because it was like kind of out of nowhere, and it had like a lot of the day players from L.A. Law in it,
yeah.
and Liam Neeson, who nobody had heard of, and I didn't know he was Irish until like years later, and yeah, that was a strange movie.
Well, he's always doing the thing where he's like making people's faces and impersonating them, and
Yeah, because he was burnt horribly, but then the faces like dissolve after a
yeah, they have like 90 minutes and they start to like bubble and dissolve and stuff.
Yeah, that looked horrifying too.
But I saw a trailer for it, and like some stuff looks dated. Like, oh, you're doing this with like miniatures and stuff because it's Sam Raimi, so he does something expensive with like with a $3 thing. But there's like that parts where he's like hanging from the helicopter. It's like, oh, they just have a dude hanging off a helicopter. That looks pretty cool.
Stuntman, that's the most practical effect right there.
And like the bad guys has this weird rocket launch, or not? It's a grenade launcher, but it has like little tiny tubes, but like 100 barrels. It's like one of those reciprocating ones. And he's just fire, and like while he's in the helicopter with a grenade launcher, trying to hit Darkman while he's like hanging off a hook hanging from the helicopter, and of course he's missing him and just like hitting spray traffic on the ground with grenades. It's like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, this is a good movie. Speaking of good movies, oh, go ahead.
Well, like I don't even know like how that came about. They were talking about how it was that movie was trying to chase like the Batman craze.
Yeah, okay. This would be early.
I think it's like 94.
Yeah, so this would be
Batman was 89. I don't know when Batman Returns. That was like 92 maybe, something like that.
Well, Batman Returns was just a freak show. Really weird.
But yeah, like so I guess they were banking on, like, we're gonna make the next Batman, but this is before comic book movies were comic book movies.
Yeah,
they still didn't believe in them.
yeah, they had a couple tentpole franchises, Superman.
Yeah, it's pretty much just Superman and Batman. It's like
Had the Wonder Woman TV show, which was kind of cool.
well, I mean, they had a couple they had a Hulk television show and
Is that Wonder Woman trailer gonna win like for trailer of the year? 'Cause it keeps popping up in my thing. It's like, oh, watch this. It's like, that's gonna be one of the best trailers I've ever seen. I don't know how good the movie's gonna be.
yeah, it's an awesome trailer. Yeah, hopefully it won't be like Suicide Squad.
Yeah, they had great trailers.
A trailer so good they recut the movie to seem like the trailer and fucked up the movie. Now, not completely, just a little bit. It's not like that movie would have been saved had they just let David Ayers edit the movie the way he wanted it to be.
Yeah, this wasn't going to be Chariots of Fire either way.
It wouldn't be 8 music videos tacked onto each other at the beginning of the movie. But we're transitioning to the Netflix movie.
Yes, we were transitioning to how it ends. Let me get my notes up for this. Gotta get some notes up for this.
I have no notes.
By notes, I mean observations. I just ranted it.
Yeah, I was building my computer and kind of barely paying attention to this one as it going on. So
oh, good. You gave it the potential, or you gave it the attention it was worth.
Oh, okay, because I didn't really like this movie, so it sounded like you were more positive about it.
There are things that
I think this movie is Forrest Whitaker,
yes.
And then when Forrest Whitaker dies, it's like now not Paul Walker's control of the movie, and it's worse.
It's more directionless. Yeah, because this movie, let's see, directed by David M. Rosenthal. I have no idea.
No, I looked up some of his stuff. I've never heard of any of his stuff, but
yeah, he did the remake of Jacob's Ladder, which I think
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, well, it got like It's like 5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
That's
okay.
a good sign. Now, Rotten Tomatoes is not always objective, but usually when something gets below 10%, yeah. So this is a apocalyptic disaster film that starts. It looks great. Looks like they threw some money at it. I couldn't find.
$20 million.
Yeah, so it looks like they had a little bit of money to throw at it. It built tension well initially. Forrest Whitaker was great. Theo James is fine as, what did you call him? Not Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what he is. He seems fine. I don't know him from any other movie.
No.
Yeah, I think he was in movies like based on young adult fiction that was kind of in the vein of The Hunger Games, but not as good.
There's the mechanic Indian lady,
Yeah.
which I think I've seen her in other things, but I don't. She was interesting, but then they just discard her. Like she had to kill somebody, and then she just ran away one night.
Here's the thing I didn't know about that character. I didn't know she was a woman until she jumped in the swimming pool. Like, I thought that was just like some younger, like some teenage boy.
Oh.
And then it's like, oh wait, was it a secret that she was a girl? Or no, they're not even reacting to it. I was like, okay, I totally missed that. I don't know why. I wasn't paying attention, I guess. So yeah, this is basically a post-apocalyptic road trip movie about a potential son-in-law and a father of the daughter who doesn't like him.
Yeah.
And Forrest Whitaker is always fun to watch. He's one of my favorite actors. I've liked him for a long time. But the movie kind of builds. You only know things from the perspective of these characters. I'm going to call them the three main characters. Ricky walks out for the first 30 minutes. But you only know what Theo and Forrest Whitaker know, which is not much. The movie kind of reveals what's going on. If you pay attention and you like weird clues, you can figure out what's actually going on. It doesn't all necessarily.
Is it just a super volcano or some shit?
No, it's because remember when Ricky has the in her bug out bag, she has the compass, and it's twirling all around, and she shows him that in the car.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the Northern Lights in the last act of the movie, the guy sees the Northern Lights like in down by Seattle.
Yeah.
Okay, that means the magnetic poles of the Earth shift every 700,000 years or so. We're actually like 300,000 years overdue for it. So supposedly that's whatever happens when that happens. That's what it led me to believe.
Oh, okay.
Some research, but again, it's not spelled out.
No.
Postulate.
Well, all is like you hear like earthquakes, but then they don't explain it, and that's also like is it an attack, and then they don't explain it.
Yeah.
And then the one thing at the end like looks like a volcano. Well, they mention a volcano, and then you just see a bunch of ash and fire, which I assumed was a volcano, but I don't know actually like if it would be near a volcano. They were up in Seattle, so there's Mount St. Helens up there.
Washington State. Yeah, there's seismic activity there. I don't know when he finds his girlfriend who abandoned Seattle exactly where they are. So it's.
And Seattle looks like a nuclear
Bomb went off.
Yeah, but
there's ash everywhere, which I thought was like, oh, it's some kind of nuclear attack.
But that's just because all the services aren't working. California's on fire, or the whole West Coast is on fire.
The West Coast is on fire, and it's. But you never really know what's going on because the real antagonist.
Yeah, because like none of the radios work, all the phones go out, all the power goes out simultaneously.
Yeah.
You see some F-22s fly by at some point. That's just supposed to be more mystery, but it really was pointless.
Yeah, didn't do anything.
But yeah, that's sort of the idea. Is like on the ground, sort of Cloverfield-esque. Like you only know what the characters know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's again the character development between the two of them is
But also, this does the thing you like of like, if something really went to shit, what people actually act like, and it's like terrible.
Yeah, they would immediately like go to their worst instincts.
There's that one is fucking weird where like the lady's like kind of hitting on him and he's like, no thanks, and she's like, are you calling me a slut? And then that turns into like a weird like they're trying to like steal the car from him. It's like this is like this is awkward.
Yeah, this jumps like we're 2 hours into this and people are already like, yeah, trying to fuck people over.
And things are sectioned out in days, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure how important that is. But I think does it go across like 7 days?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and this movie's got weird. This movie, it's got weird pacing issues, but I think it's because of the way it was put together. Like, because it seems to have some hard breaks, but like in those hard breaks, like other parts of the story continue. And this guy, Will, he gains skills very quickly. Like he doesn't know to rack back the slide on an automatic to make it work, and then, that he can drive like one of the characters from the Fast and the Furious on a bridge.
Well, that was like how like in the first 3 minutes he's like having to shoot at a cop, or is that a guy a cop, or did he just steal a cop uniform?
I think he's just stole a cop uniform.
Okay.
It's not really.
Because I thought there was some. It's just him sight reading thing. He just knew. I forget why he knew the cop was up to no good, but yeah, and later on when was it Ricky? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Like she has to shoot somebody from a moving vehicle, and he's like, Will's like, hey, come on, like he's just already an expert in like shooting from a moving vehicle and killing people. It's like, I've already done this. It's cool. We'll get through it. But then no, it really affects her.
Yeah. Yeah, she's the only one who seems really remorseful about like violence. I mean, because 2 people burned alive upside down in a car. That was big. But those people also robbed them first at gunpoint. So
I forget, what was their motivation to go west? Was it just to like see what the fuck's going on, or
no, it was because his daughter, Will and Will's.
no?
Yeah.
But what was Ricky's motivation?
Oh, just get off the Indian reservation.
Oh, okay.
There was some weird stuff shown, like when the one guy was in the bathroom, that older guy was like grabbing her and saying stuff to her. And like I said, I didn't know she was a girl then,
Okay.
but I think it's implied that like, oh, well, this guy's just going to start raping her or something. Again, it's another thing in this movie that happened and just never went anywhere. It's just like the movie ended suddenly.
How it ends poorly.
Yeah, it ends. Because I actually thought that the tone of the movie, I thought when the lava or whatever that shit was coming at him and his girlfriend, it's like, oh, they're just gonna die, and then this is how the movie's gonna end. Didn't end up happening. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, yeah, the debris, the cloud is like kind of chasing him, but then like just at the end, that like the cloud kind of like stops and the car starts going away, and that's supposed to be like as happy as things are gonna get.
Yeah.
Now raise your child in this new violent world.
Yeah. Well, they're going to Canada. They say it's better up there. It's like, yeah, all the weird people in Hollywood that make movies think that to like go there. I don't know. But that was, yeah, it was kind of a weird movie. It didn't leave me satisfied. I watched it and it was over, and I was like, huh, what a waste of Forrest Whitaker.
Well, yeah, it just seemed like everything in this movie is done better in other like disaster movies.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it manages to be like vague in an annoying way. Like it's
Well, yeah, like really at the end there, where the guy posits that like he's a software engineer, like we do this stuff all the time, like this is an attack, and then like it's like, oh, he's suddenly a paranoid guy and he has to kill him. Like that was like so weak.
yeah.
Because like, am I supposed to like take this guy's theory? It's the only. It's the last theory in the movie. Am I supposed to take this seriously at all?
Yeah. Yeah. kind of yeah, because you knew that guy was a bad guy from the first time he showed up. And again, there's this kind of weird lack of character development, character motion. It's like these people are going through things and they're seeing stuff, but they're still kind of at the end essentially the same people. It's just Will has more gun skills.
And then I forget, like, how did Forrest Whitaker like get his lung collapsed? Like, what happened?
Oh, his lungs got, or his ribs got broken when he went out.
Okay, right, yeah.
Dodged the deer and hit the tree, which is why the car's radiator was leaking.
Okay.
Which is, yeah, I guess. I mean, they had to give some kind of clock to him because otherwise that guy would just dominate the whole everything.
Yeah.
So that's. There was nothing really wrong with this, but it was just kind of like at the end of the day, it was completely unsatisfying and also predictable.
Yeah.
In a way that for a movie that started off in the first 20 minutes building tension between the characters, tension with what's going on in the world, and then
I think if you're 13 and you never had to explore these ideas before, this would be a good movie.
like, this movie changed my life. So yeah, this is kind of this trend I'm seeing with Netflix where it's, their good stuff is really good, but some of these movies that they put up as another feature section is like, oh, this is another garage sale movie. This is
I don't know if this was that. They only spent $20 million on this. I don't think this was like a handoff job.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or
it was all Canadian money, Canadian.
Oh, okay.
So
I did like the part where there's just that weird storm at night that looked cool, but then I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, because
it was just like we're in Harlan's world, I guess.
Everyone's very incurious in this movie to the point like what's going on?
Well, you could have the characters just start positing theories, but like, why would they know? So it's like, don't. It's like, well, this is weird, and we got through it.
Yeah, but you think there's someone like in that town they went to see his friends. Like you think there'd be someone in that town that was like a professor or something like that. Just a moment of exposition instead of just watching people nervously smoke and stare at outsiders.
Oh, yeah, there's a part where like they find like an overturned train and there's like Humvees there and they take the gas can. It's like, that's diesel. That's not gonna work in your Cadillac.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, like when he tapes up the brake lights.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
To pull the fuse and do the same thing. Well, actually, that car, I don't know, that was a pretty expensive, newer Cadillac. Because I like that they rammed into people in reverse in those. Because tips to all you post-apocalyptic aficionados out there, with a modern car, if you front end another car, it's a real good chance your car's not going to start again until you reset the airbag switch or something. Because as soon as you crash into something, your engine's going to shut off, and you got to hit a switch to make it turn back on. But if you back into stuff, there's no engine back there. You can do it all day long. Or if you got a car like mine and you try to run someone over with it, it'll just stop on it. Like, wait, I'm trying to kill a bad guy, car.
So demolition derby rules, like use the back end of the car, because then your engine won't get stopped.
Yeah, with a front-wheel drive car, it's especially important. Just use the back of the car. The back there's an axle in the back that can get damaged, but yeah, don't ever use the front of the car to hit things, because you have to reset your car. And they're so packed full of sensors and everything now in the front anyway. There's you're gonna damage something that won't let it run. So steal an old Chevy pickup or an old Ford pickup.
Yeah, he trades away like his dad's house and a car for what's he driving around at the end? That's just a 4x4.
It's a Jeep from the 70s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So he gets that at the end of the movie, and then he discards the Jeep. Oh no, I'm thinking when he's hitchhiking. So he's hitchhiking. He gets picked up by those guys. That's right. Yeah.
It's the family that's they're actually decent people. He goes and looks for his estranged father, and all he finds is luggage in the house and nobody there. He's just kind of like, okay. Tell you what, I'll give you this house and 2 weeks worth of food for your Jeep. And I had to siphon the gas out of the car in the garage. But I'll tell you what, those 70s all-wheel drive, full-time four-wheel drive Jeeps, you'd be siphoning a lot of gas to get that. Because the thing actually got like 7 to 8 miles of the gallon if you're lucky. Because the four-wheel drive just ran all the time. That's why they were durable. And they also had big, heavy-duty like Rockwell axles under them, so they could do that. Those things weighed 7,000 pounds or more. So you're siphoning you're getting a lot of diesel out of that Humvee to run your gasoline-powered engine.
I forget. There was a.
Why didn't he take one of the Humvees?
They're both overturned, but
Oh,
you can. Humvees aren't as heavy as you think they are. You can overturn those things.
yeah, they're mostly wood and fiberglass. There's not much to them, really. There's a big engine and a great four-wheel drive that you can go through anything with, and they have inflating tires. And
yeah, do you ever see how the tires or how the axle works in the tires?
yes,
That's kind of interesting.
oh, it's amazing. Well, you can tell it was developed for the military. 'Cause they would never. They've copied a lot of stuff from Humvees for civilian off-road stuff, but yeah.
So basically, what it is, they wanted they wanted it off the ground as much as possible, but there's always a thing with your suspension. You're gonna have like this 45-degree angle where like shit's gonna hit your suspension. So they just like build this weird wheel thing where they can just move the suspension up out of the way, and so it doesn't, or the axle out of the way, and it's like, it's bizarre, but.
Well, it's internally braced. That's why if you ever get in a Humvee, you'll be surprised at how small they are inside.
Yeah.
You have all these structures built up to support that weird.
Well, there's a column in the middle, and you're like, hey, cool, it's like an armrest. Like, that's the fucking transmission.
Right up next to you. I've never rode in the military ones. I've rode in civilian ones, but they're basically just a redressed. I mean, the H1s.
Yeah.
They're basically just, they have nice seats. That's about the only difference. And yeah, they're terrifyingly loud and obnoxious and small. And this guy's like, I paid $100,000 for this. Like, okay. But they will absolutely go through anything. There's plenty of them around you can buy now, cheap.
Yeah.
I think the engines are really expensive in them, though, to maintain and replace.
Yeah, there's a lot of, well, I guess not proprietary, but there's a lot of technology that isn't used elsewhere for reasons, because you don't have a military budget to maintain them.
Yeah, well, that's why like my thing with when I build apocalypse vehicles, when I was doing that for the model club, one of the guys asked me, it's like, why don't you have any military vehicles? I said, because it takes an army of literally an army of army-trained special technicians to maintain those vehicles, because they have a very specific purpose, and they're not designed to last. They're actually designed as a kind of an extended jobs program. You want to steal one, like they look cool and they're effective, but once they break, it's like you're not going to the abandoned Napa store and getting a part for that. It's just done. And even if you did, it's probably put together with weird proprietary bolts and Torx heads and all kinds of other stuff. Government had to throw money at people to keep these businesses afloat. So, yeah, you wouldn't want one. I want to steal a tank for the apocalypse. Oh, well, okay. Yeah. Those don't break down.
Yeah, I remember Reservia. There's this. It's like a warehouse that we had, and in there would be a couple of Humvees, and like there'd be a note on it. It's like Gary's Humvee. So it's just some civilian owns these Humvees, and it's being stored at the armory.
They bought them at auction. The self-inflating tire stuff's pretty cool. That's actually made its way into that's transition technology.
Yeah.
Some high-end trucks and stuff have that now. Well, where you can have them, because I remember they were putting run-flat tires in cars too, and the police were like, "Hey, slow down, wait a minute." why are you putting run flat tires in these cars? Well, in case their tire goes flat. It's like, yes, you know, sometimes we flatten people's tires to stop pursuits, and if you put these ceramic rims in these cars, they're just going to keep going that much further. But self-inflating tires only work in cases of puncture. If the tire's blown off the rim, another tire doesn't pop out. As nice as that would be.
Go, extra tire.
I just want the Batman tumbler. That where you just like the stealth mode is you just turn all your lights off and you have night vision. It's like you really couldn't see the damn thing. It's black.
Yeah, it's Humvees. Yeah, I think they had lights, but you didn't use them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you're driving at night, you drive like a foot away from the guy in front of you, and you all have night vision goggles on.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That was always a technology that never made it to the civilian world that I thought after the first Gulf War. It's like, oh yeah, we're all going to have night vision in 5 years. It could never happen. It was horribly expensive.
Yeah. I mean, for a while there, everyone had a handy cam that had night vision on it.
They don't even do that anymore, do they?
No, not really. I mean, people don't really have handy cams anymore. You just have a cell phone.
Yeah.
I don't think they've added night vision to cell phone yet.
Well, I know when I looked at getting cameras installed for my house, the guy said, well, it has an infrared imaging system. I was like, well, how does that work? It's like, well, if people are around your house, what it'll do is it'll send out like a Doppler of infrared pulses, and then the camera will read that as like you can get a picture of the face, but it's a weird like demonic looking picture.
Well, it's in black and white. It's just taking surface details as much as it can. But
I said, why don't you just have full on night vision on those? It's like, well, because what happens is usually most people want the lights to pop on when it senses someone. If you have night vision, you'll ruin it if you keep doing that. Like, oh, okay. How much to get this installed in my house? It's about $4,000. Have a nice day. Thanks. Oh, I mean, it can lower your homeowner's insurance. It's like $4,000.
over time, 40 years, it'll pay for itself.
Well, and it was something that only worked through an app, and I had to log into it and go to a server to like see things around my house. It's like, well, wait a minute, who else is seeing this? Well, just you. So, okay.
That's I forget the other security things with the Ring cameras, but like the big thing about I guess not the big thing, but there's some security issue. I forget what it is with Ring. Like one of the vice presidents of Ring was like, if we need to stop production now, we have severe security. But
anyone could log into them?
Yeah.
You knew like the master, like the factory default password, it would just override whatever security you put in. So anyone who knew that, which it comes with the brochure when you buy it, like they could just go in and log into it, and yeah, they could. And if you had them in your house, which I would never do, I'd do it outside my house. I'm not having that shit in my house.
Yeah.
But the stuff I wanted, I thought this guy was pitching me a system, like I wanted a closed circuit system.
Yeah.
Where it went into a hard drive that I physically change out or erase. Is like, oh no, that's like $8,000 or $9,000. Do that. This is all wireless, and it's like, okay, no, thanks.
But yeah, there's one podcast, the guy, he got doxxed or whatever. He got some, he's in video games, so every once in a while, somebody will threaten his life for like, standing up for transgendered people or something.
I'm gonna kill you.
So he got a Ring camera, and like the rub that he had to deal with is that so he has data caps, and that's just all day data, 24-hour, 24/7 sending data to the cloud, and so he has to like record in really low resolution.
Yeah.
to have vague ideas of what's going on with those Ring cameras showing. So that's another word, data caps. Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I had a guy come over because I called him and he pitched me a whole system, and I was basically like, I don't want any of that Wi-Fi cloud shit. I want a hard drive that these go to. I want that system. He's like, oh, that's true closed circuit. That costs a fortune because you have to run hard wires from the outside
Yeah.
and all that. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we're like, for the cost of a good used car. Oh, fuck this. I said, okay, if I hear a bump outside my window, I'll just start shooting, and that's going to be my computer system.
But also the Ring stuff does things like, you can watch the video anytime, like, hey, what's going on at my house? Or like a delivery driver comes up and you can talk to the delivery driver when you're not at your house.
Yeah.
So.
Or I can just put a Claymore mine facing the front door. Normal things like that. Can you imagine? And somebody's doing it too.
Hey, UPS driver, door's open. Come on in. Put the package on the inside. Thank you. Fooled you.
No, you just got it set up, on its little mount. It says right on the front, it says front towards enemy. And you got like a laser. And you could make this all fake. Like you could just 3D print that.
Yeah.
Look like a Claymore. And then have a pin laser. And it's like, just set the package on the floor. Do not cross that laser. Or 500, what are those?
Ball bearings.
Quadruple op buck shells backed by a pound of C4 are going to come flying at you at 10 times the speed of sound. I mean, you'd have the cops over here. So dude's got a Claymore mine. His front door's unlocked. Just sitting there like that Bond villain in a wheelchair with a cat. Set the package down. Don't move in front of the laser. Notice the bomb says towards enemy. I will not be affected. And the cat runs towards it. No, kitty.
Then while he's saying no, he falls into a shark tank.
Yeah. Why not?
Cat blows up. He's getting eaten by sharks.
UPS guy just sets the package down and leaves.
Fuck this.
$20 an hour isn't worth this shit.
I'll just sign this myself.
Yeah. I'll just fake
Customer received package.
right before he was eaten by sharks. So yeah, Netflix. Just watch it. Just mindlessly watch it.
I mean, there's better TV right now, but
Yeah.
and we had a string of like, hey, Netflix is making some real good movies. Now we're back into our like mediocre Netflix movies.
Now back to the age of mediocrity. So what have you heard about why Bob Iger stepped down as the CEO at Disney?
Oh, I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, he has moved into another role with the company,
Oh,
like a more of a board type role,
okay.
and someone else took over, and it was kind of sudden because Bob Iger's been the CEO of Disney forever. I think since I was in high school, maybe. It's been a long time.
Well, when did Michael Eisner? Wasn't he like ahead of it for a long time?
Yeah, he was, but this guy's been around.
Even longer than Michael Eisner? Okay.
I just was curious, like, what your thoughts are, because of course, some of the things I listen to and watch are like, Star Wars, they fucked it up and they forced Bob Iger out. I was like, I don't think that's right.
Well, if he's taking a board position, then he's probably just like, oh, good, I get to basically retire and make millions of dollars.
Yeah, I don't think it's 2005. He was CEO from 2005 to 2020.
Okay.
And in 2016, he moved from the Democratic Party to the Independent Party.
Also, like, I don't think there's like one more major acquisition that he could do that could make that company as a behemoth as it is.
Buy Apple?
Yeah, I guess. Do they have money to buy Apple?
Probably not. I don't think any. Isn't Apple the source of all money now?
Well, Apple has more like just straight cash than any other company in the world.
It's ever had straight cash?
Yeah, because like Microsoft probably has more in equity and all that shit, but it doesn't have as much money as Apple.
Yeah.
But like Microsoft would still like buy Apple if you just like, you know, liquidate all that shit or whatever. But because I forget who it was, like they're saying like somebody could buy Sony, and I think it's like Apple buys Sony.
That'd be weird.
Yeah.
Okay, no, Michael Eisner was the CEO of Disney from 1984 to 2005, so he's the longest serving guy, or close to
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
I knew Eisner was around because David Letterman was a good person. Michael Eisner. You couldn't say enough good about him.
Yeah, I forget. Like, I know Mike Eisner, and I know his son as an okay director, Breck Eisner.
Okay.
He directed the Iron Man TV show.
Okay.
I believe he did that Sahara movie,
Yeah.
which was okay, but also like should have been R-rated, like, or PG-13. I think it was PG-13. It was a little too safe for what it was trying to do. It was an okay movie.
Yeah.
It's like Navy SEALs or like shoot a tire to have a car fall on a guy, so he doesn't have to like shoot the guy in the face. He's a fucking Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
Just shoot the guy in the face. And also currently he directs a lot of TV episodes for The Expanse.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, he's one of the good ones.
he's one of the good rich kids. With all that opportunity and shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know if you'd heard anything about that or not.
No, I don't know. Like the new IMDb, the front page doesn't have the news on it, so I miss a lot of that stuff. If it doesn't show up on Reddit, I kind of don't know about it.
Oh, okay.
I don't like that they got rid of the news off the front page for IMDb. That's kind of like the reason I go there is like, what's the snapshot of news? And it's usually like, now it's just all about TV shows. Somebody's doing a TV show.
Yeah. Somebody else is doing a TV show on a network behind a paywall. Doesn't this sound interesting? You'll never see it.
Yeah, I never heard. There's another like streaming service called Peacock, which I don't even know what that is. I assume it's an NBC thing, but I don't know. Because
Just a lot of these streaming services that were like these house brands. It's like when Disney started this, and they're just throwing everything they've done for the last 50 years on these streaming services, and they're having a few shows. Some of them are exclusive. Like Disney has exclusives. CBS is just they have like the Star Trek stuff.
yeah,
That's exclusively there, but everything else is just re-showing their
yeah,
stuff. And that's not paying off. I mean, Disney's streaming service was not like a whopping success except for The Mandalorian. And then as soon as that stopped, like, well, it's time to end our subscriptions. Because I don't, what am I going to watch, the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs 1,000 times? What am I going to do?
what?
A lot of them are hitting that wall now where it's like people.
Well, yeah. The weird thing with the Disney Plus is that they had this great show up front, and then they didn't have anything waiting in the wings, except for I guess that Clone Wars show's next new season is coming up.
Yeah.
And then there's like a bunch of like Marvel TV shows, like that what is it, WandaVision?
Or yeah, one of the sites. Yeah.
Which that looks interesting. And then there's it's like the Winter Soldier and Falcon a show. I didn't know that was a show. And I think there's a Loki show too.
Okay, didn't know about that.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
If they had that, we might have continued to follow.
Yeah,
Ready to go. After I watched The Black Hole for the 5th time, I was like, more Mandalorian, Black Hole.
Yeah, I thought about going through all the Clone Wars stuff because I hear people talk highly about it, but I just I don't believe them.
No, Grayson loved it. Watched a lot of that. Okay.
I remember liking the cartoon version, the Gender Tartakovsky one.
Yeah.
It was a cartoon. It was a cartoon called the Clone Wars, but it was animated. It wasn't the CGI one,
Yeah.
and that one was also great. But that only lasted like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Um,
That was the best stuff Lucasfilm was doing before they sold Disney.
but yeah, I heard that um, Vince McMahon is looking to sell off like television rights to like WrestleMania and like Royal Rumble like individually
Okay.
to try to like basically make it like a Super Bowl. Like maybe Fox buys WrestleMania for the year and they put it on broadcast television.
Oh, that's interesting. Be an off prime kind of pre or post. They want to do prime time block sales.
um, or there's another one they're thinking about selling too. It was Peacock and ESPN Plus. So I guess ESPN Plus is also like a pay per view.
Yeah.
Like they have it's like, hey, you already subscribed to ESPN Plus, but also we'll sell you a $50 thing, and it's like, well, that kind of defeats the purpose of a monthly fee, but whatever. So they're thinking about like shopping it out to ESPN Plus, so they would take it off the network and make you spend $60 and a subscription fee to another company for like WrestleMania.
Yeah, that'll make everyone happy. That'll get the fans lining up.
I mean, people will pay for it, but
Yeah, they will. I mean, well, I don't know. It's gonna hit a wall eventually.
well, the
If
WWE.
everyone dies in a pandemic, this business model isn't.
Well, WWE broke the mold by just like, because like it was. I mean, they used to be like pay per views were $60 a month, and they had a pay per view every month. Actually, I think WrestleMania was more. I think WrestleMania was $70.
Yeah, I remember when that started through your cable. There was like multiple guys would go in.
Yeah.
That stuff got up to 100 and some. There was a few of them that
Yeah.
got real high.
Oh yeah, I spent $100 on that Mayweather McGregor fight.
Oh, okay.
Fucking like 10 million people bought that thing. So.
Yeah, you will never have to work again.
um. What the fuck? Pay-per-view stuff. Yeah, so they broke the mold by like, hey, subscribe to the network, you get all the pay-per-views, it's $9.99 a month. So it's like, if I bought every pay-per-view over a 12-month period, that would be like $720.
Yeah.
Or if I keep the subscription, that's $120 a year. That's 2 pay-per-views, but I get all of them.
Yeah.
So it's a deal.
It's a good deal. You get more eyes on it that way. People are a lot more comfortable with that.
Yeah, but then you do a show in Saudi Arabia, and people are like, fuck this company. Which they did that this week as well. They had their Saudi Arabia show again.
Piss everyone off again?
Yeah.
Why are people mad about that? Just because the Saudis, their human rights shit's so terrible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because essentially what they pay WWE to do is to come there and try to show off Saudi Arabia as like a cool up and coming country.
Normalize it.
Yeah, it's essentially propaganda, but like in wrestling entertainment. Now they did have their second women's match. The title was on the line, so I guess that's somewhat progressive. Of course, they had to wear baggy T-shirts again, but whatever.
Fucking scared of everything. Hate women.
But at least this time, as far as I know, they didn't like threaten to hold all the wrestlers hostage at the airport.
That's probably a good thing. You gotta be prudent about some stuff. Can't hold all the wrestlers hostage at the airport.
But there's some impressive like firework and like laser light shows because they have a setup that they did for the last WrestleMania where they just have this giant fucking screen that's like the size of a football field.
Yeah.
Like when you look at it, it just looks like a black monolith, and then it lights up, and you're like, oh fuck, that's a TV screen.
Play the 2001 intro.
Yeah, and then and then it has like fireworks all along it, and they shoot up in the air, and then like, it looks impressive. So, but yeah, like they go all out for these Saudi Arabia shows because they get so much money for them. So it's like, yeah, we'll do a WrestleMania show in Saudi Arabia.
It's kind of like I remember what was that network? It was the one Oberman was on after he got fired from MSNBC. What was that network called? It was the weird one.
Fuck.
Basically really liberal people. What's that damn network called? Anyway,
Was
they
it
were
TV or was it radio?
It's TV. It was kind of like MSNBC super left. Like if you can imagine, we're going to be left MSNBC because it had Oberman had a show, Granholm had a show. It was really low rent though. It looked kind of. They weren't getting like the A-list. Like they would bring a college professor in there and let him talk for an hour. Oh, what show was that? It wasn't Democracy Now, but it was that's a thing. But anyway, Al Jazeera bought it. And everyone was they're like, we'll continue your contracts, you can still do the same shows. And Oberman always be, nope. We're out of here. It's like, wait, you're so liberal and progressive. It's like, not for Al Jazeera, we're not. Just it's like all the people that went to RT and then regretted it. It's like, well, that's Russians, they'll let us say anything we want to. It's like they don't tell us what to say nice things about Putin until they don't say nice things about Putin, and then they take them in a room. It's like, well, we're going to send you to this country. We want you to report on things. And these people are suddenly like, well, I'm going to be killed? I'm not in the country. Fuck you. Who went to RT? Ed Schultz. There's a few of them that went to
What's is it art? Is it the abbreviate?
It's Russia Today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's they were trying to be a news network in America. It's just a propaganda arm of Vladimir.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And they show news here, and it's in English, and they hired Americans. They have a building in Washington, and if you want to like, it's called like the Noam Chomsky effect, where if you want to go, because Noam Chomsky's an American, and he would go to other countries and talk shit about America, and everyone would just applaud. Great, you're awesome, even in Canada. But then Noam Chomsky would say, I would also like to tell you what your government's been doing and how they've been supporting America and this, that, or the other. And of course, he's right. He's right on both things. And he'd be thrown out of the country. Canada, they wouldn't give him airfare to come back. It was just like, no, fuck you. So RT was great. Like, yeah, you can go on pure freedom of speech as long as you're saying bad shit about America. But as soon as they tried to report, well, Vladimir Putin's doing this, they were like, wait, hold on. Like, wait, you said total free speech. It's like, you're working for Russia today. Are you out of your fucking mind? What do you think this is? But yeah, that was funny when that network got bought by Al Jazeera, and they thought they were going to retain Oberman and all those people, and they're like, nope. Oh, thank you. Because I forget who backs Al Jazeera. It's the royal family of something. I think it's the royal family of Qatar or one of those people. And they say they don't censor them, but their idea of not censoring in the Middle East is way different.
Oh, he said something naughty. Well, he didn't die this time. Let that be a lesson to you.
Yes, you learn. We'll let it go this time. Next time, we'll chop part of your body off. Like, what? Well, just cancel my contract. No, we must chop something off. And then beat your mother to death with rocks. And then, do something else. Burn someone alive in a cage.
As the scriptures say.
Yeah, as the book of peace and kindness says. To stone those to death that mildly offend us.
What was that? Is there a new show? It's a new show on Netflix called like Messiah, isn't there?
Yes.
And I thought it was funny. I heard essentially they named a character, and the character's name is a spoiler. Because like I guess in like Arab mythology, like the name of the character is the Antichrist. Like that's the character's name in Arab mythology. So, it's like, oh.
Name like Giaz, or no, what's the name of the Antichrist? Yeah, he has a name. I can't think of it, but I just need to look it up. Yeah, I watched one episode of Messiah.
Yeah, must have been really. It must have held your attention.
Yeah, it sure did. There's some interesting stuff in it, but I just can't see like just watching this
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
The guy's like basically Jesus or something.
Yeah, that's the whole thing is like it's like a scientist trying to prove that this guy isn't Jesus or some shit like that. And then this guy seems to be altruistic, but he also seems to be backed by some shady people. But then I think ultimately it's the Antichrist. He's pretending to be good, so he can lead people astray for the reckoning.
Or something that's gonna happen. Yeah, it's like all the stuff that's supposed to happen, and the biblical prophecies about the end of the world. That all happens in the Middle East. It's not happening in downtown Denver. That's why I never got like people over here. All these Christians are so excited about the end times. It's like that's going to happen really far away from here. Probably won't even affect us. Oil will get really cheap. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the interesting scene. Oh, this Mossad guy was trying to interrogate this guy, and this guy would answer the questions before he asked them, and then he would tell this guy like details about his life that no one could know, and so he goes to his boss at the Mossad, and he's like, yeah, this guy's doing some weird shit. No one can know these things, and no one. It's like, well, it's a trick. He obviously knows, It's like the power of denial in this TV show is incredible. He's just very well briefed. It's like nobody's that well briefed. So yeah, but I tapped out after the first. It's like, yeah, I'm not into your propaganda. Weird. I don't even know what kind of propaganda it is. Weird believing in something bigger propaganda. I don't buy it. Well, that's all I got for this week.
All right.
This week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Colin. Goodbye, America.